The basis of this scripture is dialogue between master and disciple. And the prerequisite for that has already been clearly shown, that here they are not saying that it is any yogi. The seeker is not a yogi here. The seeker is not a yogi, although Kabir's whole system is about yoga. Kriya Yoga, Hatha Yoga, all those terminologies you can find in Kabir's literature. But what he is insisting is in this attitude of love instead. You see, if you approach any spiritual system with an attitude of doing, that I will do this and this result will be obtained, then it does not succeed. It will not succeed. That I will do this, this action will lead to this result. It is not of your karmendriyas, not of your jnanendriyas, or even mind for that matter, your superficial mind, which has this thinking process, and then the little higher mind, which is intellectual one, right? So intellectualization doesn't help, thinking about it doesn't help, doing doesn't help. So what does help? Of course, we can say that everything helps provided there is this sense of love, this sense of a deeper connect, right? A sense of deeper connect, a sense of longing. Because when you desire anything intellectually, you get information at the end. Or your logic may be satiated at the end. Or you may be able to prove something logically. But that does not transform us. That does not make us capable of perceiving that subtlest experience. Intellectually, it is difficult to capture. It is possible. I'm not saying it is not possible. Jnana Yoga is that only. However, as I said, and as I told many times, that Jnana Yogis are very rare, extremely rare. A Jnana Yogi has to be rooted in simplicity of his emotional makeup, in innocence. Then only a Jnana Yogi succeeds. If a Jnana Yogi is rooted in his shrewdness or insistence of proving a point, or overpowering the so-called truth by way of his logic and intellect, then it doesn't. And such a Jnani is not easily found. Because as you become gather more information, you gather more degrees, a level of cunningness or it is definitely comes in with it. It is packaged with jnana. Now you have to have very strong desire to stay simple and very straight and innocent throughout your learning process, which doesn't happen because learning itself creates an atmosphere of competition, an atmosphere of your comparison, where you compare your knowledge with others. And therefore, it becomes really very, very difficult, not to say impossible, but really very, very extremely difficult for a person to stay untouched with all these emotional corruptions all in your way. This is the problem, right? So Kabir has ruled out this whole approach in the beginning itself. He says, if you want to achieve the truth, if you want to achieve this goal which you have set for yourself, you'll have to be very, very simple and receptive of your heart. You should be receptive of everything which your beloved is offering. Correct? So this is what is the beginning. And on that premise, everything is going to grow. It will grow as we go through this Anurag Sagar. Many more things will be told. Many more things will be known. Many more facts will be given. But everything has to be received with this attitude of love. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So, Anurag Sagar will not be able to do any good. Even it will not be able to transform you. It may be sounding like tongue-in-cheek kind of conversation if you are not rooted in love. If you are not seeing through these words and seeing the compassion of a master, how simply he is putting his truth in understandable language to a disciple. Right? So this is very important, and we must understand that this is what every listener has to keep in mind. While listening to this, keep your logical faculty apart, away from it. Do not get involved in questioning. As I said, like this Sati example is a controversial. Today, even then it was controversial. Society knew that they are not doing the right thing if they are pushing somebody towards that. But even then, Kabir does not hesitate in saying. And Sati was abolished by, in conjunction with the English rulers and Raja Ram Mohan Roy later on. Because in some parts of India, it was very, very prevalent. Not everywhere though. So this example he is giving. Kabir is approximately 550 years old as of now. Correct? And this Sati was abolished around 150 years back. Right? So you can understand even then the society would have been up against all these kind of things, and at least intellectual voices would have been against it. But he doesn't deter from quoting this example. Right? So let's come to the next example, what he's saying. We have studied till Liye piya kar mah jaya sara upar chadhi god liye nij na ram ram kahte jari. Up to this point we have gone through. Now further Kabir is saying, Sunahu Sant Anurag ki bani, तुलततु देखी कहे हित जानी, ऐसे जो नाम ही लव लावे, कुल परिवार सबय बिसरावे, सुत नारी का मोह न आने, जीवन जन्म स्वप्न करी जाने, जगमह जीवन थोर है भाई, अंत समय को नाही सहाय. Okay. अंत समय को नाही सहाय. He is again describing, taking up the same surrender or devotion. But now he is talking more from perspective of a practitioner rather than an ordinary person. He is saying that Sunahu Sant Anurag ki bani, तुलततु देखी कहे हित जानी, ऐसे जो नाम ही लव लावे, कुल परिवार सबे बिसरा. So somebody who has taken naam means the Guru has given certain name, certain mantra, certain method, certain attitude. Right? Guru can give you anything. Do not think that Guru can give you only a mantra. Guru can give you a method, A practical method means a way of interacting in your day-to-day life with others. That may be a sadhana for you. For example, you have gotten this body awareness kind of a practice here. This is also a sadhana, right? Because there are multiple layers of identification. These wrong identifications need to be dropped first, right? And not every identification you need to drop. Few identification are already proving that you are not that. Neti neti. So if you are searching your true self, you know clearly in your mind, through your own experience, that you are not the table you are looking at. You are not the person you are looking at. You are not the earth. You are not the planet you are looking at. You are not the nature which you are looking at. So this separation is already experienced. So I am not that. Do you feel that a donkey who is around you is you? Do you feel that somebody else who is around you is you? No. We really clearly know that we are not that. I am not that. So this much we know. Now when we become aware of certain mantra, a process, or let's say in this case a body awareness, then this one more identification is dropped. Once we start observing our body, then one more identification is dropped. I am not my body. Okay. Or when you become engaged in mantra sadhana, when you are engaged in Nam sadhana, right? Nam sadhana, then you suddenly feel that you exist despite body. So this is again a separation. Because all your experiences are happening within your antahakaran. Right? All your experiences are in your antahakaran. Body is not engaged in it. Why? How that state is arrived at? Gradually. Like initially the Shabad or mantra is told to be chanted aloud, or at least it should be audible to you. Right? In this case, you are using your body, so there may not be a separation. You may think that I am the body and I am doing the chanting. Right? Then subtly it is given that no more verbal chanting you need to do. You have to do sub-vocal chanting, Upanishad Japa. So now your bodily activities are reduced. Still there is connect, but now there is a possibility of those activities which you are doing to experience within the framework of body mind. Right? So you are little bit more closer to yourself. In third stage, it is said that you don't need to even chant it sub-vocally, you will be chanting it mentally. Now, when you start doing that, the body connect is dropped. Of course, when you get established in this kind of chanting. Otherwise, what happens? Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Ram. अरे भाई वो क्लाइंट ने पेपर भेजे उसको सही जगह रख देना. राम 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 राम. बच्चे को खाना खिला दिया. राम 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 राम. So this is what happens. So mostly elderly people who has taken Naam, they are like that. The old grannies and nannies you will find like this. They'll continue doing Ram Ram, and at the same time all the business continues. Business as usual plus Ram Ram. Right? So it is not said that way. It is to be done. It is said that you need to totally become internalized when you are doing it. Shabad. Shabad means mantra. It can be any word. It can be any word. So when you are doing it internally, you further understand that you are not the body. Now these identifications are dropped, and when you see yourself away from your body, then only one more layer you have to be able to break to realize yourself. Right? That you are not the bonded self. You're free. Okay? You see, when we stop our identification from the world, we become an individual. Our relations are dropped. Correct? And when the body is dropped, we are free from death. If you're not the body, then you cannot die. See, this is the biggest fruit or outcome or result of sadhana. If you are still not free from the fear of death, you have not yet experienced even iota of Shabad in its effect. Right? Because when you are not the body, you are not going to die. You exist despite your body being dropped. So the moment this is established that you are not the body, the fear of death is gone. Right? Now all of you need to look at yourself. What is my state as of now? Have I been able to drop body centric awareness? Have I become drishta of my body? Do I experience my body as something outer to me, not as I? If this has come, then that day itself, liberation has happened 80%. It is not moksha yet, but the liberation has happened. 80% of your worries are gone because you know now that I am not the body. When you know that you are not the body, you immediately know others are also not the body. Correct. So exactly then what happens that you are free from this struggle of keeping the body intact or keeping the bodies intact. Keeping the bodies in your world. Correct. This is something which is direct implication or direct result of Naam, Shabad. It must come. And Shabad Siddhi means, Mantra Siddhi means you are able to identify yourself beyond body. If you have not been able to do so, try more. Approach not with labor but love. Okay. Approach the process with more love. That means bhava. You have to intensify your bhava inside. And love lagi, what he is saying here, exact words are, जो नाम ही ऐसे जो नाम ही लव लावे कुल परिवार सबे बिसरावे. This is a very difficult thing for ordinary people to ask for. That you forget about your kul and you forget about your parivar. Correct? If I ask you to do, you will not do. And as such, you will do. You are doing it. But when I say that you do it consciously, you don't do it. Right? Now you don't remember kul, parivar, self, others, business, position, power, then you go to sleep. 8 hours. You don't identify your world with that. You drop it. And you are not fearful about it. But when I ask, in your conscious waking consciousness, when you are experiencing this reality, drop it. Drop it only for half an hour. Not whole day at least. Half an hour. Nothing is yours. You don't have any parivar. Parivar is a myth. Kula is a myth. The gender is a myth. Everything. Drop it for just half an hour. I'm not saying become rooted in this. But you will have to drop these identifications and you will have to forget about parivar and kula, etc. You will reach much more nearer to the truth. What he is talking, yoni varga kala sharira, basically. Okay. That you have to forget about. You have to forget about yoni. And you have to forget about varga, yoni varga. Yoni varga and sharira. You have to forget. Yoni varga means a group. Parivar is the portion of the world which you think is yours. Although nothing is yours. But you feel it is yours. You feel connected to that. And that is called a parivar. So in this experience of the world, you have created a group. Group means varga. You have created a varga. Right? This varga, this group of people, you think as your own. You are so much identified with them. Unless you become free from yoni varga and a sharira, of course, you cannot be free from sharira, etc. unless you become, at least you realize yourself beyond body. Then only you can experience about others that way. So at least in the beginning, yoni varga has to be. Right? You have to be, if a sadhan is done in its spirit, true spirit, with the right kind of attitude, you are definitely going to forget your kula, your parivar, everything. Right? Now, Kabir is using love. And if we actually see even the reality, which is practical reality of our world, when two people are in love and when they are sitting next to each other, do they remember the world? Do they really know whether the world exists? And that is why I say that the love is a very precious emotion. At least once in a lifetime you should experience it. Right? You must experience it. So when you are experiencing this kind of bodily love, then also you are able to drop the world. So how come you are not able to drop these associations of yours, your identifications, your false nations of my mind, when you are in love with, in a relationship mode with yourself? This is important, that is why. So he is saying, first thing that he should know that it is for his benefit. Ultimate benefit. You see, ultimate kalyana, ultimate, what you can say, ultimate good. What do you get from a guru? By virtue of Naam, by virtue of Shabad, the ultimate good, whatever can happen. This is ultimate good. Other things are, I'm not saying they're not good, they're also good, but they're just, passing, fleeting experiences. Today, you say, Acharya ji, suppose somebody is childless, you'll say, Acharya ji, please, if somehow Mother Divine can grace us with a child. Right? So when the child comes, it's not the end. That moment of fulfillment, that good, turns out to be bad. Now, The child is sick, child is ill, child is weak, child is suffering from something, then they will become that there is a new problem now. Now try to solve that. If that is solved, something new will come. That solve that. At the end, you find that sometimes at some moments they may even feel like this child has become a menace for them. Right? So they may try to solve that. So even that can be solved probably. But what will happen? This series continues. So these are not good things you're asking. Because they come and go. They're fleeting goods. Right? Ultimate good is something which comes to you and stays with you. This is ultimate good. Something which cannot be snatched by anything, any situation. Nobody can snatch that good from you. Right? Right? For example, it is said, what is the biggest wealth? Of course, apart from all these things which we say practically that the health is the biggest wealth and all that. Let's say, given everything you have, then what is wealth? If you are in the terms, everything is satisfied, you have a good body, sound mind, everything. Then what is the biggest wealth? They say biggest wealth is a santosh. Okay, because once you are in santosh, you have a natural contentment, then the wealth does not matter. You are the wealthiest person on this earth. Please understand. So in the same way, when Guru gives you a Shabad or Naam, and when you are one with it, then everything else becomes very, very, I'll say, immaterial. It becomes immaterial. You do not care much about it. This has to come. It cannot be faked. It will happen. You can't do it. If you try to fake it, then you will get frustrated. Right? It's simply put, I would say, you're trying to remove the darkness using a sword. That will be exactly this. Your efforts of removing the darkness using a sword. It cannot be cut into pieces and thrown out of the window. Darkness cannot be done like that. So your attachment, your association with the parivar, kul, whatever he is referring to, is due to ignorance. Due to ignorance. This does not exist but feels like it exists. Right? And this example can be extended. Many things you feel like they are there, but they are not there. For example, in your relationships, in the same person, there are so many personas. Right? In the same person, there are so many personas. And you connect only with one of the persona. And persona is basically a very beautiful word having Greek origin, which means mask. Mask. Okay. Means there are so many masks. Not real him or not a real person. It's a persona. It's a mask. So he changes the mask. And you are identifying that person with that kind of mask. That means you are not connecting with the real person. Right? You are not connecting with the real person. You are connecting with a mask. And the mask can be dropped any day. And how come that happens? It can happen. A husband of yesterday may become a stranger today. Why? Because he has dropped that mask. What is this divorce, etc. all about? You can drop. And you can impose a mask on others also at your will. For example, in all these relationships, we are putting the mask from our side. The person is not, person is only responding to whatever way we are, trying to trigger a response from the person. Correct or not? For example, as a person from your opposite sex, you can invoke a response of a sister if you are behaving like a brother. You can invoke a response of a mother if you are behaving like a son. You can invoke a response of husband if you are behaving like a wife. So it is because of your own desire, your projections, your activities around it. The person is choosing a mask, right? Correct. And for that matter, even the bodies need not be exactly of man and woman. You can project a husband a girl can project a husband in another girl. What is LGBT, etc.? A man can project a wife in another man. You see how difficult it is, and how consuming, and how so deep these desires are. Our desires are fulfilled through somebody else. So we are trying to put somebody in a bracket. Otherwise, that person is a free man. And therefore, life is a struggle all through, because we are trying to bracket a free person in our definitions. Correct. So the day you realize that there is only one person in him, and if I connect with him in that essence, then these things, despite their existence, will not deter me from what is my connect with that person. Right? The person may be with me, may not be with me, may respond the way I want, or may not respond the way I want. But he is a person. He is a flame inside, right? He is a Jyoti, Chaitanya. Now this is difficult if it is tried to be imitated. You can't imitate. Don't try. It will not work. Most of people listen to the Brahma Vakyas from their teachers, and then they try to implement exactly the way they are said. It doesn't work. It only leads to frustration. Because neither you are ready, others are anyways not ready. You have taken charge of your life. You are trying to look at life from the spiritual perspective, from the more freer perspective. You are trying to see the truth in it. Others are not. So they may object. They are not ready. They are not ready. Nobody is ready. You see, those people who are getting this liberty to pursue their so-called spiritual aspirations in any ways, man or woman, they are just being given this opportunity. Mera sar nahi khayega itni der, bas.
Acharya, I have gone through this few years ago. So I can easily relate to.
So why they are saying all this? You pursue all that. Why? Because they don't want you to engage with them. You have become a menace for them.
Yes.
Okay, ठीक है. कुछ देर अपना मंत्र जपेगा, कुछ देर ध्यान करेगा, कुछ देर गुरु जी को सुनेगा. छोड़ो ना इसको. इससे अपने को लेना देना क्या है? वो आप लोग समझते हो बहुत लिबर्टी मिल गया. थोड़ी देर तो नहीं लड़ेगा. करने दो ना.
Acharya ji, you bursted bubble too.
Yeah, this is not a bubble, this is reality. All the bubbles are so real. But these bubbles need to be understood. So, if you are thinking that you have become spiritual and other people have given you freedom in the family, look back, see whether you were of any use to them, whether you were a trouble creator to them or not. If you were not, then this is definitely a blessing. But if you have even iota of understanding that they sometime hated you being there, you irked them so much, you were a pain for them, then please understand. This liberty is only to get rid of your tantrums for at least some time. कुछ देर ध्यान करेगा, कुछ देर बैठा रहेगा, कम से कम मेरा सर तो नहीं खाएगा. Right? So now look at this practically. How selfish people are. And you think you cannot be selfish. Look at it. They can allow you to do your satsang, waste your time, waste your money, waste your energy, everything, just for their peace of mind. And when I ask you that you drop their connect for half an hour for your peace of mind, you say, Acharya ji, this is very selfish of me. Right? It is not so. Everybody wants to have little, some peace. Some peace. People do not come here to realize God. Let me tell you. See, no. People come here to get rid of whatever the problems they are going through in their lives. They feel that the spirituality will, lend them a hand, and they will be safely, go through all these troubles. So somebody is depressed, somebody is suffering from chronic feeling of loss, somebody is suffering from some physical pain, somebody is suffering from not having, and after having achieved everything, he still feels that I have not, the sense of attainment has not come. All these things are very, very real and tangible. People do not come here to search themselves. People do not come to gurus or teachers or to spirituality for knowing the truth. If they were really interested in knowing the truth, they would have known it. It's enough time. Most of people who come here, they are in their, at least in their 40s, 30s, minimum 30s, I'm saying. The problem is that they suffered a loss, they suffered something, but please look back and you will recognize that you did not want to search yourself when you came here. You were hammered continuously about it, that it is not what you have come for. This is no solution. The ultimate Ananda, source of Ananda is you, in you. So if you're trying to settle scores with others or trying to change people around you, disengage from that. Forget them for a moment at least to work on yourself. This is what Kabir is also saying. Kabir is saying, when you are in Nama, when you have taken Nama, when you have taken Shabad, when you are placing yourself in sadhana, then you should forget them. Parivar, kul, etc., etc., good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, forget it. Now, how will that happen? It will happen automatically, as I said, it will happen on its own. All you have to do is do your Nama, do your Shabad, do your introspection, do your observation with 100% devotion and out of love, not out of compulsion. You should have a love for your sadhana, the time which you spend with yourself. Understand? So each day when you get into sadhana, then say, I have an appointment with myself. This should be your attitude. I have an appointment with myself. I have an important, urgent, and very, very intimate meeting with myself. Don't disturb. In corporate meetings, you can place about don't disturb. Put all the phones off the hook or switch off your mobiles. And when you are doing a corporate meeting, do you remember you are a son, you are a father, you are a husband? Do you remember? You don't. You're solving a normal worldly problem. But you're not aware whether you have a child at home. At least for the time, at least during that presentation, when you are intensely engaged in that activity, you don't remember. This is what Kabir is also asking. And it happens automatically. You don't have to actually try anything. Sitting in your office, no, I will forget my wife now, I will forget my son now, I will forget my backache in order to participate in this meeting. You put an inner, longing or inner attachment, or you prioritize that work in your life, and therefore you are able to give that much attention. So you don't have to do otherwise, that you don't have to forget your family. You don't have to forget your cooler. But what you have to do, you have to give 100% attention to what you're doing. That's it. So this will happen automatically. I have an appointment with myself. Don't disturb. And I would not want to be disturbed in my own company. That's it. When this happens, everything will fall in place. You will definitely forget everybody, because you are saying it is the most important meeting for me. Each day I meet myself once, at least once. If you have gotten some liberty, then twice. Is it exactly like in offices? Some offices have liberty to have meetings twice a day. Once in the beginning, before office starts, and at the end. And some offices don't have that much liberty, so they have either at the end of the day meeting or beginning of the day, just to assign the targets, etc., and discuss yesterday's progress. So this is what you have to do. Correct? So although Kabir is giving you this understanding that you should forget, but it is not asking, Kul parivar sabay bisarave, sut nari ka moh na aane. Now, Sut Nari ka mohanana. It feels like as if he is talking about a man, of course, but Sut Nari, when Nari will get into this kind of activity, to Sut or Bharta ho jayega. Right? Sut or Bharta ho jayega. Or Sut Swami ka mohana, generally कहते हैं. Sut Swami ka mohana. Mohana lave. What happens, let me tell you. It is important, in fact, in any activity of japa. I'll tell you, this becomes a real obstacle. Because there comes a time when our personality, in Shabad, when we get engaged, when we get into a meditative state, then our persona, we connect with people through our persona, means mask, this identification. This mask starts melting, okay? And when this mask starts melting, and we are just about to be our true self, though that may not be ultimate, chaitanyam, at least ego-wise, ahankara, you will feel your ahankara, self-realization. This on the verge of self-realization, you feel like as if you are losing yourself, because your identification of self is with some name, with some form, with some persona, with some relationships around. Or else, how do you identify yourself? If I ask you to introduce yourself without any reference to your relationships, okay, how will you define yourself? How will you introduce yourself? Tell me. You don't have to take names of people you are connected to. You don't have to take name of the country you are connected to. You don't have to take name of any other asset you have accumulated or company, or because you may say, I'm the CEO of such and such company. No, those things keep outside. Now introduce yourself. Try that and you will find it gives so much joy right away as such. So your introduction to yourself, or your introduction to a wall, your introduction to a tree, what it will be like? How will you introduce? So when you know yourself, try to introduce yourself, dropping all your identifications, then you become available. In this way, if you will introduce yourself to a tree, the tree will also respond. See, all the Tantra is about dropping the self-identification. Unless you drop these identifications, you cannot tap to the higher forces. Okay. When a sadhak, when a practitioner drops these lower identifications, then he is reaching his higher states. You can reach your higher state right away. Try to know yourself beyond the world which you have unnecessarily attached to. Drop it for a moment and see who you are. That's it. This is your quest.